right, so the very last way to organize our variables. Okay, so we have qualitative, it's a quality, it's a characteristic. We have quantitative, it's a number, but we can get more specific. It's a number I can count, it's discrete, it's a number I can measure, it's continuous. And then I say, okay, erase everything that you just learned. There's a whole different way to organize variables. Are you kidding me? I'm not kidding you, okay? But this is what I was talking about. If you can remember qualitative versus quantitative, it's going to take these 4 options and turn them to 2 options, okay? So instead of a 1 out of 4 chance, you'll have a 1 out of 2 chance of picking the right one, okay? So the first 2 go with a qualitative variable. So let's just kind of put that off to the side so you remember that. We'll write qualitative. So if you know for a fact your variable that you're trying to organize and summarize is a quantitative variable, you should not even consider the nominal or ordinal method, okay? Don't even try to consider it, all right? So if you know it's qualitative, and I'm sorry that's kind of messy, I just wrote qualitative up there, it's either going to be a nominal or an ordinal. Both, their names kind of hint at what it is. Nominal, believe it or not, the root word is name, okay? Nominal means name. So again, it's that kind of obvious classification, that quality. The key difference between a nominal and ordinal is nominal, we can group them, but that's it. We can't start to rank them. We can't put them in any order. We can just say all the blondes go here, all the brunettes go here, all the black hair go here, all the white hair goes here. Can we start ranking what hair color is the best? You'll start fights, right? And so what we have to realize is that you can categorize them, but that is it, okay? So examples of that is ethnic background. Do you want to start saying which ethnicity is better than the other? No, unless you want a really bad fight, right? So let's do ethnic background there. Another example, gender. Do you want to start saying who's better, male or female? I'm sure in debate class you can debate these things, right? But is there an obvious, oh, this is this order and this is this order? No, okay? So kind of keep that in mind because some of these nominal variables, they can seem like, well, there's been studies done, like GMCs have the best trucks on the road. Not really, you know what I mean? Like a different study might say Fords. And so that would be a nominal classification, trucks, sedans, or whatever, you know, that kind of thing. So, all right, the next one is ordinal. It's exactly like nominal, but you can actually put an order to it. Root word of ordinal, order, okay? So this is kind of just like a name, and then this is an order to it. What I think movie ratings, 1 to 5 stars. Have you guys seen that? Like when you look it up on IMDb or whatever, they have the stars, or like any kind of review, right? You look at Google reviews. If you can, they're classified as 1 star, 2 star, or 3 star, right? So there's your kind of nominal. But then there's an obvious rank. Like, do you want to watch the movie that's a 5-star movie or the one that's a 1-star movie? Right? So there's an obvious rank there. Another one that I think of that hits home for me is survey answers. I'll talk to you about what that means. Survey answers, like strongly agree to strongly disagree. Strongly agree. ... to disagree. Have you ever had to fill out a survey, whether it's about an instructor or a product, and they ask you a question, was your instructor entertaining? And you have strongly agree, agree, neutral, disagree, strongly disagree, okay? Those are qualitative adjectives, really, right? And then there's an obvious rank, right? You want to take the instructor that everyone's strongly agreeing and not the one that's strongly disagreeing. So I have movie ratings 1 to 5 stars and survey answers strongly agree all the way down to strongly disagree. These are just categorical, qualitative stuff, but there's an obvious order. All right, interval and ratio. So if they're not qualitative, they have to be quantitative, okay? So these are quantitative. So anything numerical where you can do some number crunching is going to get you down to one of these 2 things, okay? Interval is the darnest one. It's so hard to understand. I always stress, though, even though it's hard to understand, there's only like like a handful that I can even think of that fit this category. So I give you a heads up before you take the test. If it's interval, it might be only one of these 5. You know, it's all it is. So let's read it and see if we can even make sense of the definition. It says, a variable is at the interval level of measurement if it has the properties of ordinal, so we have that order going on, and the differences in values have meaning, so that's that numerical kind of going on, like, oh, I'm 100 points off of you or whatever. But this is where it like kind of just takes a turn and you're like, what does that even mean? A value of 0 in the interval level of measurement does not mean the absence of that quantity. So 0 does not mean 0. How can that be? Okay, let's underline that. 0 does not mean the absence of. And you're like, what? I feel like I've been lied to my whole life. 0 means you don't have it, right? I think the most perfect example of this is military time. Anybody in the military? It's that 24-hour clock, right? Mm-hmm. What's 0 o'clock? Midnight, right? Does that mean the absence of time? No, it just means it's midnight, okay? So military time, oh, I have it down there, so I just told you one. Shh. You get a freebie. All right. I think another good one is temperature. Because if it's 0 degrees outside, does that mean there's no temperature outside? Just means it's really, really cold, right? There's only a handful. What is another one? Because I gave you that one. Years of birth. Again, why it fits an interval is because years are quantitative measurement. Differences are meaningful, like I'm 10 years older than you guys or whatever it may be, right? But does year 0 mean the absence of a year? No, it's the year between AD and BC, okay? Now, age is different. If I said age of students, if somebody's 0 years old, that just means they're not a year yet, right? That's an absence of a year. They're only 6 months old, okay? So let's look at this last one. Guys, there's only a few. The reason why I'm not listing anymore is because the only other ones are basically in this problem we're just going to do down here, okay? There's only like 4 or 5 that I can think of. Mainly, if you're kind of debating, you know it's quantitative, odds are in your favor to pick ratio, okay? Ratio is basically every other quantitative thing. 0 means 0. So when I say I have $0, that means I have no money. It's the absence of money. And ratios make sense, right? So if he weighs 200 and she weighs 100, he weighs twice as much as her. You can't do that with temperature, which is weird. Like, you can't say 70 is twice as warm as 35. That's not the right math, which is kind of weird, okay? So we could list, we could list all of them, basically. I have money, number of sodas drank in a day, we could keep going, okay? Notice I did one that's technically continuous, money, age, those are continuous, but the number of sodas someone drank in a day, that's discrete, right? But if you drink 0 sodas, what does that mean? You didn't drink soda, right? It's the absence of soda in my belly, okay? What'd you say? Money's continuous. Remember how I said, like, even though we have a penny, we can do fractions of a penny? So it's kind of tricky. I would not have something like that on a test, okay? Mine are going to be pretty obvious, and if you think for some reason it's kind of iffy, just justify your answer, and I'll take that into consideration. All right, so the last thing here, real quick, I want you guys to try, and we can do it together, you can try it on your own, is I have the 4 different levels of measurement, the nominal, ordinal, interval, and ratio, and I have 8 different variables that need to be organized. All right, so let's just do it together real quick since we're kind of tight on time. Normally I let you kind of gamble and try it yourself, but I'll start on the right, and I'll just do a matching game to the stuff on the left, okay? So academic letter grade, that just means A, B, or C. The first thing I ask myself, is that a qualitative or quantitative variable? A, B, or C? What is it? Qualitative. So I'm not even considering these two, and I'm just looking at nominal and ordinal. What was the difference between the two? One, you could put in order. Can you put letter grades in order? Yes. So letter grades go with what? Ordinal. So you can even write qualitative, and they have an order, if that helps you kind of. In class, everything makes sense. You're like, and then you go home, you're like, what? Why? You know, so any kind of note you can write down, try to put it down. All right, family size. How many siblings you have, or how many parents you have. Is that qualitative or quantitative? Quantitative, right? So we're going to either look at interval or ratio. But when I say I have 0 siblings, what does that mean? I have no siblings. So 0 means 0, right? And if I say your family's twice as big as my family, that ratio makes sense, right? So what does family size go with? Ratio. You got it. And who would ever think you'd be in a math class when your teacher is saying 0 means 0? Like, what does that even mean, okay? So we'll write quantitative. 0 means 0. If I have 0 parents, 0 siblings, that means I'm lacking them. All right, handedness, left or right hand, people. Is that qualitative or quantitative? Qualitative. Can you start ranking who's better? No. So that's just going to go with what? Nominal. You got it. And again, I feel like that's something that they might start debating. They're like, well, there's been studies done that left-handed people are way more artistic. Yeah, okay, studies, but when you're just looking at someone left or right, you can't start ranking who's better, okay? So that is nominal, and we'll write qualitative, no order. No rank, no order, however you want to say it. All right, the weight of something. Is it qualitative or quantitative? Quantitative. Does 0 mean 0? Meaning if something was 0 pounds, does that mean lack of a weight?
No, it's ratio.
It does. 0 means 0. It's ratio, right? Like you can say he weighs twice as much as his daughter, right? So that's kind of hard because you're like, what can you weigh that weighs 0 pounds? I don't know, air. I don't know. If you're getting close to it, so that one's kind of tricky, but it is kind of your typical, just, hey, I can be twice as much as my daughter's weight or whatever. So the ratio makes sense, and 0 does mean lack of weight, okay? So that is going to be ratio. So that's quantitative, and 0 means 0, or the ratio makes sense. All right, so keep this in mind. We already have 2 ratios. We're done with ratio, okay? So you go to IQ scores, and you're like, IQ scores, is that qualitative or quantitative? Quantitative. So is that interval or ratio? Well, I just told you we're done with ratio. So how the heck can IQ scores be interval? Well, one, do you agree that we can put them in order, IQ scores, and putting them in intervals to organize them makes sense? But does 0 mean lack of intelligence? No, it just might mean you're not a human, right? Don't monkeys have intelligence?
Yeah.
What do people score on IQ test? Probably higher than a 0. We'd probably be surprised, right? But even though it's a way to measure your intelligence, if you get a 0 on it, it just means you maybe didn't even try, right? So this is one of the weird ones. IQ scores, SAT scores, those are kind of considered interval, okay? So it's quantitative, and 0 does not mean 0, does not mean lack of. And that's a hard one, I think. It's one that I probably would not use on a test. I think that's kind of a hard thing. If you got a 0 on an IQ test, you like to say you lack intelligence, but that's not necessarily the case. Political affiliation, conservative, liberal. It's quantitative or qualitative. Can you start ranking them? No. You better not, right? Lots of fights will start. So that's nominal. So that's qualitative, no order. Military time, I accidentally gave it to you, right? It's numerical, so it's quantitative. Does 0 mean lack of time? No, it just means it's midnight. Okay, so that's interval. Oops, quantitative, and 0 does not mean lack of. 0 is midnight. All right, last one. I'm kind of writing off the paper there. 0 means midnight. All right, stages of development, fetus, meaning trimesters. Your first trimester, second trimester, third trimester. Is that qualitative or quantitative? Qualitative. Is there an order going there? Sure is. And so that would be ordinal.